former U.S. Senate employee has come forward alleging former Vice President Joe Biden sexually assaulted her.
His hands were on me and underneath my clothes.
You have a right to be believed. We're with you.
Do we value women? Do we believe women?
Women should be believed.
We believe women.
I'm very disappointed that there are those who continue to not believe women who come forward. It is not easy, but they should be believed.
She is putting herself out there, knowing that they're going to try and excoriate her.
And they have. They've attacked her relentlessly. The woman who came forward backing her, meaning the neighbor, they've attacked her. Tara Reade has been doxxed. They've called her a Russian agent. Somebody associated with Biden said that her vagina was not in the proper spot for this particular assault to have taken place because he apparently is a genius about the female anatomy and he knows those type of things. The things that they've been saying about her has been utterly astonishing. If you're watching social media, disturbing to say the least. They went from entirely ignoring her, doing everything in their power to ignoring her, meaning from the standpoint of mainstream media in order to help the Democratic Party. And when it finally hit the headlines and Chris Hayes, these guys were forced to talk about it, then it became attacker. Anything that they could find, anything, something her ex-boyfriend said, if it was something that she might have did during the course of her life, all of that stuff gets thrown out there to denigrate her story. Despite the fact that there's all sorts of corroborating evidence for this particular story, as opposed to Ford. Ford. Meaning, if you believe one, it is very bizarre and weird that you don't believe the other. Which means there needs to be some kind of countervailing thing. There's something interceding upon the person's consciousness, either in this one or in the other one, or potentially both. And that thing is politics. Partisanship. The Democratic Party has not negotiated this well at all. They were all in with Ford, as you can see on the right side of that particular screen. I think it's right for me anyway. But all in for Ford. And then you get to Reade. Not so much. Not so much. And that's kind of the issue, right? The level of hypocrisy that the Democratic Party has shown, being all in for Kavanaugh, wanting to rip him from that seat in the impeachment hearings. However, not so much with Joe Biden. And every last one of those people who said they were against Kavanaugh have now all come to Jesus, burned the Me Too movement to the ground, and are now for pro-Biden. Interestingly enough, two of those particular women who are in the Veep stakes, as they call it, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, strong feminists, at least by their own standards, they were contacted by an assault victim. And being contacted by this assault victim, what do you think they did? Now, I suppose you think, well, who's the victim, right? But you shouldn't think who's the victim, but you are saying who's the victim. And you're saying who's the victim because you know partisanship will play a role independent upon who the victim is and their actions. If it was any random person who was pointing to any other person on the planet, I would imagine they would say, come to my office, send a representative out, I want to help you. But if that predator just so happens to be Joe Biden, I believe women until there's a VP spot. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, please like, share, subscribe. You can always support PayPal, Patreon. This content is brought to you by you, and I appreciate you the opportunity to allow me to do it. I couldn't sleep. Real men can't sleep. Real men do the news. So here I am doing the news. And I was watching the Megyn Kelly interview. Some of these parts are really interesting, and I thought this one was interesting. Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris were contacted by Tara Reade. Now, Tara Reade is a Democrat. Her friends that came out backing her story are also Democrats, at least one of them, Democrat. So this doesn't seem like a grudge. Now, they try to act like she's doing this because she's a Bernie supporter, which is, again, this is the smearing that goes along with it. And this gets across how Democrats are not immune to doing so. And this stuff is based entirely on incentives and the low level of integrity the individual is willing to stoop because of those incentives. Let's take a look at the clip. She mentions she tried to contact Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren. Shame on both of them. Look, I'm not a female. I'm not a woman. Fair enough. I think you know that at this point. But well, let's watch the clip first, and we'll talk about it after. But this, I think you make a mistake doing this. And this is me just giving advice to the party itself. I think you make a mistake doing this. I think Sanders made a mistake in the way that he was running the race. Even if Sanders didn't want to win the race and he just wanted to get Joe Biden elected, I still think he made a mistake in the way that he ran the race. Some of the stuff is counterintuitive, but how you act has consequences. And those consequences, sometimes we get accustomed to doing things in a particular way that doesn't necessarily quite work. In this case, they want to protect Joe Biden. But I would argue if you were really trying to beat Trump to any measure and you wanted to somehow protect Joe Biden, you would have an investigation. The investigation will, by definition, clear Joe Biden because there's no evidence or there's no smoking gun in this process where you can nail Joe Biden. By doing this and by just trying to say it's not existing or pretending like it wasn't there, that doesn't help you. That doesn't help your case. Maybe after 3 or 4 months, people stop talking about it, and maybe it doesn't necessarily, or they don't think about it. But you are burning Me Too to the ground in order to do this. All of that Believe Women stuff, all of the Me Too movement that you've appropriated, all of that stuff goes out the window. And the credibility of each and every Democrat, female, gets impeached all at once, just in order to back Joe Biden, somebody who may lose anyway. I hope you understand what I mean. This is kind of like the Young Turks backing Hillary Clinton and then Clinton loses anyway. You're weaker for that. You would be in a much stronger position if you actually stood by your values, as you keep telling me. Tom Perez always screaming about his values, and either ditch Joe Biden in some kind of investigation until he's cleared. But this looks bad. This looks really bad. Let's hear her mention reaching out to Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren.
To, for example, the Elizabeth Warren campaign, right, to try to get them to do something with it, and the Kamala Harris campaign.
I did.
Isn't that inherently political? I mean, doesn't that suggest, in fact, this is all political?
I tried to reach out to them. Yes, I did. I tried to reach out to them. Well, Kamala Harris is my representative, so I tried to reach out to her in particular for help. Like, I wanted to get a safe place to tell what happened, and I didn't get a response. So I kept, again, trying to get it out there.
You know, we went through this entire political campaign with Sanders supporters being called sexist, racist, bros. They acted as if they were only white men. They tried to invisibilize women of color, men of color, etc. And you had various people, especially the people in the campaign, not just media, turn their fire not just on Sanders, but on Sanders supporters. Warren going so far as to saying he's you can't beat Trump through in this. We're a foundation of hate. We're a foundation of hate, Bernie supporters. And even makes the point that we were being aggressive and attacking women. She got really mad at the snake emojis, saying that we were threatening her and other women, and these were hard women that we were threatening, and these women were terrified. This is what they said about us. She said this when she got out of the campaign, meaning after she gets out the campaign, and Sanders is walking around with his thumb in his ass, not understanding that she was never on his side, shocked, asking himself, looking under the moon, maybe she wasn't as progressive as I thought. No, she wasn't. She was a political actor. And as a political actor, she was working in tandem with the party, one step along the way against you. The media ran with the sexist claims continuously that Bernie Sanders said a woman couldn't win. They had no corroborating evidence for this. Sanders said I didn't do it. Elizabeth Warren said they did it. They acted as if it was a flat fact. Ran with it. Joe Biden gets accused of a sexual assault allegation, and they ignored the story for months. MSNBC, CNN wouldn't cover the story. Fox News tried to get Tara Reade on. Tara Reade wouldn't accept Fox News. She didn't want it to be used as a political weapon. She finally goes on and speaks to Megyn Kelly here, still not on mainstream media. I think I might have said mainstream media before. I misspoke. All of these women who attacked us, especially Warren. Now, if you remember this exchange between Warren and Chris Matthews, this makes my point. Warren ran this race on identity once the progressive stuff fell apart. She went so far as to say she would choose a trans person to pick her, I think she's an education secretary or something like that. This got Chris Matthews fired, or at very least got somebody pissed off at Chris Matthews.
Well, a pregnant employee sure said that he did. Why shouldn't I believe her? You know, I'm just really tired of this world. This one is personal for me. It really is.
But you believe he's that kind of person who did that.
Look, pregnancy discrimination is real. And we have gone on and on and on where people say, oh, I can't really believe the woman. Really? Why not?
If you believe he's lying.
I believe the woman.
I believe the woman. She was very clear. It is shocking. And this is the thing that people hate about politics. An honest appraisal of this would have been, have the investigation for Joe Biden. Because otherwise, you end up putting your people in this weird position where they have to repudiate everything that they've said over the last few years. And credibility matters. And you've just burned all of it right here. On this particular issue, Republicans are going to point to this forever. Forever. And you'd have earned it. Because this is that bad. This is that onerous. Here's another one. So now, new day, Elizabeth Warren is asked. She said, I saw the reports of what Mrs. Reade said, and I saw an interview with Vice President Biden. I appreciate that the Vice President took a lot of questions, tough questions, and he answered them directly and respectfully. The Vice President's answers were credible and convincing, she added. Credible was the same thing she used in order to describe Ford testimony also. Credible and convincing. Now, you realize that before Biden said a word, before Reade really even made a point, Biden was going to be credible and convincing to Elizabeth Warren. Let's hear Kamala Harris. The Joe Biden I know is somebody who really has fought for women and empowerment of women and for women equality and rights, Harris told the San Francisco Chronicle, though she made sure to say Reade has the right to tell her story. And I believe that, and I believe that Joe Biden believes that too. Not that I believe Reade. Now, Reade made the point that it was hurtful that all of these people who she looked up to in politics basically said, I don't believe her. It went beyond them just saying, okay, I'm backing Biden. It went to, I don't believe her. She was put off by it, especially, again, going to the Me Too movement. These guys are trying to push. In this case, these people have shaped an image around themselves as if I am pro-woman. And in the moment where integrity is needed and integrity is required, drop the ball. And for all of you to come out and say, I believe Joe Biden, that's an astonishing thing when all of you say, he seems credible to me. He seems credible to me. This guy seems credible to you.
IQ than you do, I suspect.
And he exaggerated his academic record in law school.
Went back to law school and, in fact, ended up in the top half of my class.
And then there were moments like this, repeated later during the campaign.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes.
But he never actually marched in the civil rights movement at all. Ultimately, it was accusations of plagiarism in his speeches.
I did not know that was a Robert Kennedy quote. My mistake.
That forced him to drop out of the race.
I made some mistakes.
That's the guy that all of them are lining up saying, I believe. That's the guy. That's the guy. Okay. All of you are going to burn your credibility for that guy. I'll leave it here. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks all.